should go, you should go.
Right.
And at first I said, okay, thanks, yeah, good, thanks, I'm gonna do that. And then the more they worked on me, the more I thought maybe I should try it. And then as Holly and her sister Chloe got older and older, I thought, hey, maybe this would be a great experience for them too. So in 2023, we decided to jump in and go. That was the first year that they reopened after COVID. So every year since 1998, our church sent a team to Hooper Bay, Alaska. Not in 2021, 22, 23 it opened up again, and we went. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what we do during the week that we're there, because this was our third year to go. And this year we also went to Chivac Village. So you'll see there's a board for Hooper Bay, and there's a board for Chivac. They're similar, kind of close together, but different in their own unique ways. And we'll tell you a little bit about the people and the culture. One thing that's been great is that as time has gone by, the team has expanded. The original DCE, who kind of put it all together, moved to Texas and worked for Concordia down there, so she still goes. And we have a Texas part of our team. We have a St. Louis part of our team. We have a gal from Colorado, one from North Carolina, one from Oklahoma. And so the team is really a fun experience for us working with the team too. Now where we go is Southwest Alaska, so right over in here to Hooper Bay and Chivac. Hooper Bay is right on the Bering Sea. So this is the tundra. The high temperature in July is 50, 55 if we're lucky. Lots of rain, lots of potholes. They don't have cars. There are a few trucks, but most people have four-wheelers. They don't call them four-wheelers, they call it a Honda. So they drive their Honda through town, and then in the winter, when everything is snow-covered, they all have snowmobiles that they call snow goats. So in the houses, which are up on stilts, because this is the Bering Sea, and the water can get high. Flooding is definitely a problem when snow is not a problem. So people are cruising through town on their Hondas and in their snow goats. And that was actually one of the fun things about moving to Marquand, because in Hooper Bay, everybody waves as they go by, and they say hello to each other. We get in St. Louis, nobody does that. But you get to Marquand, and everybody's waving and saying, so it makes us feel like we're at home in Hooper Bay. So anyway, Holly is going to talk a little bit more about the people and the culture.
Okay, so right now, today, we're wearing cookbooks made by the natives in Hooper Bay, Alaska. And lots of kids and women wear them. And we're also wearing beaded earrings that we bought down there too.
Mine has seal fur on it.
These are really cool. Hooper Bay is a Yupik village, and Chivac is a Chupik village, which there's not really a big difference. The only difference is like some pronunciation on like the words. A lot of the communication is really different. So if the kids will say stuff like play out, which means like, oh, you want to go play out. They'll also say, instead of like, take a picture of me, they'll say picture me. And they'll also say, instead of I'm joking, they'll say I joke. And also, if there's like a bad kid, they'll like tell you he's mischief, he's bad. Yeah, it's really cute.
Oh, and eyebrows.
Oh yeah, they'll raise their eyebrows and say yes. So if you ask them a question, they won't answer. They'll just raise their eyebrows. And so you have to like, yeah.
So they are answering you, but you have to watch for it.
And they also have cool foods. They have like raw clams, moose, whale, berries, salmonberry pie, and a which is like Eskimo ice cream, which is like salmon berries, Crisco.
Yeah, that's getting
a bunch of
squished.
like random stuff.
Right, they can put ground fish in their Eskimo ice cream. They can put tundra greens in their Eskimo ice cream. So a lot of people are really excited. They love this Eskimo ice cream. I'm kind of like, oh, thank you. Good. No.
I had raw clams and whale blubber one year, and it was horrible. Very brave. But it was nice to like try their food.
The dried salmon is good. They
Yeah.
smoke a lot of salmon and dry the strips. You can see salmon hanging, outside on the houses, and so they work hard on that. I have the salmon hanging on the house right here. So just as you drive by, there goes the Chivac. So as you're driving verandas, and how the houses are built a little high. Yeah.
And kids do have a lot of phones, like almost every kid in that village has a phone. And whenever you visit, they'll always like try to find you on social media. Because I have like so many friends, with, like all my Facebook friends are literally just them from Alaska. I don't know how they find me.
And they try to call her all day and all night, too. Because the time difference is like,
3 hours. And so yeah, they have lots of rainy days. It's like never nice there. And there's so many potholes. It's horrible. But it's really nice because we get to walk down there with the kids to the church. It's like
20 minutes.
a 20-minute
Yeah, it's a
walk.
mile from the school where we stay to the church where we work. It's about a mile, and we're lucky because we have to be approved by the village elders first to come into the village at all, and then to be able to stay at the school. Yeah. Okay, so a little bit about what we do while we're there. It has like just been amazing. The major thing that we do is we tell them God is real. I actually had one of the teenagers in the youth group look at me after listening to the Bible lesson, and she said to me, "Is God really real?" Yes, He's really real. And He loves you. He loves you so much that He sent Jesus to save you, to die for you, to take the place of your punishment. And so you get to live forever with God in heaven. That we don't have to do anything to let them know that God's love is big enough to overcome anything bad. You know, a lot of these people have such low self-esteem and such feelings of hopelessness and despair. The biggest thing that we let them know is that it's their faith alone, through grace alone. It's a gift of God. It's such a huge aha thing for them that we do, you know, that our salvation is a gift that's freely given. So we want to repent and show love for others, because that's the other thing, is giving to each other, especially in Hooper Bay. But our day is a long day. We start at 9 in the morning with a team devotion. So we all meet together and pray together, sing songs together, talk about what we're going to do for that day. Then we walk to the church with our prayer partners, and we get all of our preparations ready. We practice our skit, the Bible verse, motions, everything we're going to do for that. And then we'll eat a quick lunch, and our first session starts at 1:30 in the afternoon, which may seem a little bit late, but it's been light all day. The kids are up all night, so 1:30 is actually pretty early. So we do a 1:30 session. 4 o'clock we have women. And in Hooper Bay, there were lots of women that would come for that session. 7 o'clock is another big Bible school session with everybody. And the cool thing about that is we have everybody come from babies all the way up to grandmas and grandpas who will come. A lot of kids just come in by themselves. A lot of kids come in with their baby brothers and sisters. And it is like an open door. They're constantly up and moving in and they ran up to her and hugged her really tight. We highlight verses of the Bible that we think really are the ones they need to see. You know, Ephesians 2:8, John 3:16, you know, the ones that God loves you, He sent Jesus for you. This is what you need to know. And so we've gone through the Bible that way. And Holly and Chloe both had their Bibles. I had one that we planned to give away. So when it was time to give away the Bibles, and Holly had thought she'd give it to her best Alaskan friend, that she'll show you a picture of in a minute. But then she decided to give it to Luke. So she gave her Bible to this little boy, Luke. And that was the only time that whole trip that I saw him grin. And his grin was just from ear to ear. He was so proud to have Holly's Bible. So I cannot tell you what an awesome experience that was. And not only looking at helping them and telling them about Jesus, but what it's done for us. You know, and how it really brings home to us what's important. Okay, ready for the next kid.
So this is another girl, Layla. She was also outside and she started getting emotional when we got emotional. So she told me that her grandpa went out on the tournament and died. But yeah, she's one of the kids. I had Luke on one side and then Layla on the other side. And I was just hugging them, trying to sit there for them, trying to get them out and they like kind of didn't say.
And I woke up and I think it was just a sweet moment. I had no idea what was going on. So I had a picture of Holly and Luke on one side and Leigh on the other side, and they were both so sad. Yeah, her grandfather had wandered off in the tundra and got stuck out there looking for their dog, I think. And he was looking for their dog, and he got turned around and got lost in the road. So at a very young age, these kids are dealing with very harsh things.
How long ago was that trip?
Oh, with Layla and Luke, that was 2024. And they were both still there in 2025, so those connections still happen. Like they run up to Holly, and honestly, because of her age, Holly will hear more stories and get to know the kids and work with them more than I do, because my job is curriculum, and I'm doing the big lesson, and then I work with the women, so I'm hearing a lot of the women's stories, which I won't share, but those, you know, that's, everybody's got their different niche on the team. That's why I marvel at how God puts together the team, and how we've got all these different ages, we've got men and women, and this year we even had 2 college boys. The grandson of Sandy, who always was on the team, so she brought with him his friend Anthony, and they were in Skipton. That was so much fun. So, okay.
This is my best friend, Buddy. We're real name Charlie, but everybody calls her Buddy. And so she's a really good kid. She just had some like problems like with being nice to other kids. And I went to writing her that she's like a role model, an example to those little kids. And
Yeah, her mom is the one who gave me this custard, and she unfortunately has a pretty serious alcohol problem. And so Bunny's dealing with that. There were a few nights on this last trip she didn't go home all night long because she didn't feel welcome. So Holly's talking to Bunny, and then I'm working with Bertha, like in the adult group. We talk a lot about forgiveness and patience and, you know, all of these self-control, all of these kind of things.
this is another boy. This is Eric. So this past year, he tried to blow up the only store in the village, and so he got sent to like the biggest country, which is Bethel, into juvenile detention.
So he was there the first 2 years, and then this last year he was in juvenile detention.
It was really sad not to see him there because he really did participate in bringing a lot of kids. And since he's a boy, he's like, you know, all the other teens, he would bring them too. Because they really couldn't come with me, but his friends would like them, so they would come in. And he would stand up and do all the silly dances and sing and shout. And really good kid.
Right? Well, one of the members on our team is in Texas, and he does a lot of work with inmates in prisons. And so he is a really unique, wonderful addition to the team. And one of the things he did was, even though Eric was in juvenile detention, and we all knew him, so we're all praying for him, Mark reached out to be able to talk to him and just remind him, there's something that you do that Jesus doesn't forgive. Don't do it anymore. Come back, repent, and do what you do. So he's back in town now, so hopefully we'll see him again next year. 1 year, and in 2006, so the team had been going there since 1998, but in 2006, not long after they left, at the beginning of August, there were 2 kids playing with matches in the school, and they started a fire, the old school. They started a fire that swept through the whole town and caused $35 million worth of damage.
I think there's
And a lot of people were homeless. And Samaritans first came in and rebuilt some things. They got a new school that was built. And it was just the fact that the children are unsupervised because of the problems that the adults are facing is the most eye-opening, shocking thing. I mean, these are really, they're wild in a lot of ways. These are really wild children. Cheetah is not like Hooper Bay in that regard. The parents in Cheetah are definitely more involved, and they're definitely more aware. They were bringing their children to Bible school and dropping them off, which was an interesting difference because the ones that are involved in Hooper Bay, the parents and grandparents come in and do everything with the kids. It's almost like they're big kids themselves because they will do all of the craft projects when we're passing things out. The adults are just as excited to do them as the children. So it's just really an interesting dynamic. Even though these Alaskan villages are in the United States, you would think they're in a foreign country. I mean, it's really very different. And the most interesting thing for me, because Chloe went with us the first 2 years, and Chloe's in college in Concordia, Nebraska right now. And for me, that was the first time that as a mom, I could just pick out the 2 dark heads in the room and find my girl. In Alaska, when we were there, it's a whole room full of people. I could really flood and say, okay, wait a minute, where's Chloe in the house? Because it went right in. It's funny. Okay.
This is another kid named Martina. She would stay up all night, just like doing whatever, playing around with her friends. And she would always get us up to school, and the church locked there and got us. She would do everything with us. And she always asked me for $20, which I didn't have. But she's super cute, and she actually gave me these glasses when we were going to the airport on the Honda. She threw them at me. She said, "Bring them back next year." And so, I have them.
Okay, we don't have a picture of Leo, but do you want to share about that?
So Leo is a boy who left the first year. He hasn't been back because he's in foster care in Bethel. But he's a kid, like when the tsunami hit, he was under an apartment for 5 days with like no water, food, because of the tsunami. And he has a really hard life, like getting like
Yeah, he got put in foster care. All of their kids, and they had a lot of kids. She had 5 because she was crying on the 4th of July. Okay, so her kids got put in foster care. So Leo is in a foster care system now in Anchorage, Bethel. And so yeah, it was domestic abuse on top of that. In fact, he was hiding under the apartments because of domestic abuse when the tsunami struck. And he was stuck under there for 5 days before they found him, but he lived. And that was such an eye-opening experience. Not only did we get to meet Leo and talk to Leo, but we're thinking about how much we take for granted all of our meals that we have. These kids don't have that. One of our giveaways that we bring every year is packs of ramen noodles. They eat them right out of the package. They don't heat them up or boil them or anything. They eat them like chips. I mean, they don't use the plastic pack, do they? Sometimes they just sprinkle it on top. Yeah, so they're just sitting around, crunching on those hard noodles. And those are hard. And for me, I put together the craft projects for TDAC this year. And we were doing a story creation in the fall with the serpent anatomy. So I thought, oh, how great. I will do these big rigatoni serpents. So I dyed all of these rigatoni noodles with food coloring. Thank goodness I use food coloring in that template. And I had it all ready for the kids, and we're making these really fun snakes, and they thought it was a snack. And they're crunching these big rigatoni noodles, they're chewing them up and eating them. And I'm looking around thinking everybody's gonna take their little snake home because what a great project, right? And they were eating them. Everybody ate their snake like a class now would do a Fruit Loop necklace. So I'm thinking, no pasta. They will eat it. Nothing, it's just a different place. Okay, so a little bit more of the nuts and bolts. When we go on a trip, this is through Alaska Mission for Christ. So it's a Lutheran organization, and now I think they have 16
Yeah, I know.
teams
There's never
all
a
over
reception
Alaska.
for
And the fun thing about that, when they brought me in, I didn't realize their ulterior motive. I love to write curriculum, and I taught Sunday school for a very long time at Peace Lutheran Church, and worked with the Concordia programs there. So what they wanted me to do for Alaska was kind of compile some things around an Alaskan, something that would work for these kids in Alaska. So I write the curriculum, and a lot of them are using that now, so that's a fun thing that I'm working on. But we have to pay our own travel expenses, and I pay for the craft supplies. So our St. Louis team also sends up all the food and water for the trip, because there's only one store in Hooper Bay. Everything is really priced high, but we also, with our team in Hooper Bay being like 15 or 16 people, it was really big this year. We don't want to put a strain on their store supplies. So we send our own things up, and just the shipping, not the supplies themselves, was over $7,000. Because for a box this size, it can be almost $100 to ship it. So that's where the team incurs the most expenses. So they have different fundraisers and things they're doing at Peace in St. Louis for that. When we go and we say we stay at the school, we're sleeping on the floor on air mattresses. And I think the first 2 years, maybe the first year for sure, you wake up and your mattress is just on the floor. It's deflated completely. So one of the things Holly would do is take the air pumps and help pump everybody's mattress back up at 10 o'clock at night. So it would be inflated until you sleep on it again. So, and some people on our team, they deal with some back issues and things like that. So it can be a really physically demanding trip. Plus having to walk back and forth, in 45 to 50 degree weather that's raining. And potholes and mud, and you need big boots, yeah. So that can be crazy. Limited internet access, if any. There was none except for just a little bit at the school this past year. There's no running water at the church in Hooper Bay. So if you have to go to the bathroom, there is a bucket with a seat on it, and it's called a honey bucket. So luckily, it's not my job or Holly's job to clean the honey bucket. That's Art's job on the team. He's in St. Louis. He cleans the honey bucket for us. So the honey bucket is a kind of a harsh reality. I know a lot of people say they're not ever going on the Alaska mission trip just because of that. But you get over it, right? I mean, we both had trouble with that at first, but you get over it. In Cheevac, we feel like we're in a 5-star hotel because or just go 4 stars at height. Because they actually have running water, and we're in the priest's area above the church. It's a Catholic church. There's not a Lutheran church in Hooper Bay or in Cheevac. So it's a Catholic church that we work in partnership with that priest, but usually he's on vacation when we do our stuff. And the same priest travels between villages. So that's an interesting dynamic too, because travel is not easy. And so yeah, it's an interesting thing. But very long travel days. When we leave, we have to first go to St. Louis, and then we fly from St. Louis to Seattle, and then we fly from Seattle to Anchorage, and then go to Bethel, and then we get on the bush plane to go to Hooper Bay, and then we can go from Hooper Bay to Cheevac, which that's only 10 minutes from Hooper Bay to Cheevac. But usually we have at least one 12-hour layover, at least one. So we're usually sleeping in an airport at some point on the road too. So, and then you go from the 90-degree weather in June or July to the 40s and 50s. Usually the whole team gets sick. We call it the Hooper Bay crud. Usually about Wednesday, Thursday, the whole team, individually starts going down. But in spite of all of that, we really can't wait to go back. And the thing is, we have friends who will say, oh, you know, they're on an Alaskan cruise, or they're doing all these things. And there's been many times the girls and I have looked at each other and said, if you could go on a cruise, you know, the wonderful, fantastic, scenic Alaskan cruise, or go back to Cooper Bay, what would you pick? And it's always Cooper Bay. It's dirty
I'm
and
gonna get it.
yucky in a lot of ways, but you will never find your heart more filled. Jackie, who is on our team in St. Louis, is in charge of the crafts and has been every year since she and her husband Art, since 1998. In fact, Art had a stroke a few years ago that really caused him a lot of trouble, and they didn't think he was ever going to come back from it. But he did. He completely rehabilitated, learned to speak, and still has some connection issues, and Jackie has to fill in a lot of sentences. But he wanted to get well so that he could go back to Cooper Bay. I mean, their heart and soul is there. And Jackie said she remembers a little girl walking on the beach who asked her once, when you leave and go home, are you going to take Jesus with you? And Jackie said, no. Jesus is everywhere, and Jesus is with you, and he loves you. He's always, always, always there. So that's just letting kids know that they are saved and have that hope. they're using contracts. That's when they get so when they're not doing it, it's almost like ponds and ponds and super spongy. So if you've ever walked on land where moles have been digging and you know how it's spongy feeling, it's that way, but like with water, so you can't really trust it. You have to be very careful walking through the tundra. So they'll get their boats and they'll go to a berry camp and they'll pitch a tent where all the berries are growing and they're watching the berries around town to see when they're ready and ripe. And they'll go and collect buckets and buckets of blueberries and salmon berries, which are like an orange berry that's sweet, and they make salmon berry pie, which is really super delicious. Just not good when they put it in their Eskimo ice cream, because it's almost like an icing recipe for a cake if you use not a buttercream, but use Crisco and sugar, and then you just throw anything else in there and mix it all up and put it in your refrigerator. I mean, I see, because I'm on the Hooper Bay page and the Chevac page on Facebook, they make it and sell it to each other. You know, they'll make all, and they act like it's just the most fantastic ice cream. They love it, but oh, yuck, guys. It's so yucky. And meanwhile, when we're there, we're living on Spam and boxed chicken and wild rice soup and what else did we bring? Macaroni night. We each had to pack a potato once. You're supposed to put a potato in your shoes, so we had baked potato night. Yeah, we're not there for the food. Not there for the food. We basically survived the week. Jackie does send up a lot of cereal bars. That's everything.
How many people are in this community? What's the size of
In Hooper Bay,
Yeah.
1,300. In Hooper Bay, there's 900 in Chevac. And Hooper Bay is right on the Bering Sea. So when you go in the school, which is remarkably modern and nice because it was recently built after that big fire, you can look out the windows and you just see the Bering Sea. And you can see the barge coming in. You can watch it from a distance as it gets closer because it takes it a while to get, from way out to where it can dock. And one year, we ran out of fuel. This was not this past year, was it the year before? Both years. We ran out of fuel, so no hot showers,
Freezing cold shower.
Right. Right, because they were out of fuel, so we had to wait for the barge to get in. And then the people just look at you and say, well, the barge, it'll just be a couple of days, barge just got here. So yeah, spoiled, rotten. We do not realize how spoiled, rotten we are. Because I know that even in Chevac and Hooper Bay, they have things that other places in the world don't have. So it's remarkable to look at all the things that we take for granted. And that's why I think the trip has been so good for us, just as a family, because we've learned so much.
I'm kind of struck by the fact that you mentioned as far as the honey bucket. That's exactly what the same item in Okinawa, honey bucket, exact same thing, called it, how that came about, same exact terminology,
Yeah.
the same thing.
We started the trip, we were like, yeah, explain that to us. And then Holly again went, oh, no. No.
I was not gonna go with that. The first year, I don't even think I did.
No.
I felt it all day.
Well, when you're waiting, and that's a hard thing, because remember, we're not getting back to the school until 10 o'clock at night. And we're leaving by 10 o'clock in the morning, if not sooner, to go. And that's a long day when you refuse to use anybody. And so we were very grateful for the running water at the school. That was amazing. But even then, you would be really shocked at how just the conditions are in general. Like the water just doesn't look clean or good. It's pretty brown. So one of our jobs on the team, there's always a water team that has to go get these sacks. They're like waterproof sacks on them, full of water at the well, and then we come in and boil it. So there's water team, a cooking team, a cleaning team, the prayer team. So in Hooper Bay, we divide it by jobs, so that every team, in addition to everything you're doing with the groups and the ministry and the Bible school, you also have jobs on the team. So, and I might say, oh, I need a David, somebody needs to be David, somebody needs to be Goliath, somebody needs to, and I have to pull people for that, and then we have to practice our scripts. So,
How far in advance when you leave, did you begin the whole preparation for your lessons and like that?
oh, the minute I get back, I'm actually planning while I'm there, because I usually get all my ideas while I'm there, so I write down a lot of the ideas that I want to do next time. Like, I've realized that the more interaction and involvement I have from the kids, the better they listen and pay attention. So I have to do as much having them shout something out or getting them up to hold the little basket card that I can. Because otherwise, they're getting up and they're leaving, they're in and out and all over the place, and they'll be there for a couple of songs and they're missing the lesson, and I want them to be there for the lesson. So it's a challenging thing. That's why the personal connections are good too, because we're out waving in town, talking to people, telling them come to Bible school with her all week. We get on there, what do they call it? VHF, yeah. They all have walkie-talkies is what it looks like to me, and we're announcing through the town radio that we're in town and we're at the church, and please come see us. And the kids, they come hang out. They hang out all day. And in Hooper Bay, they'll look in the windows and shout for Holly, and they'll bang on, Holly, Holly, come out, Holly, we need Holly. The way I love hearing them talk. They have a different vocal pattern. They have a different inflection. They'll come play out, and they'll, and in Hooper Bay, Holly can tell them to keep the mosquitoes off of them.
No, they'll just slap me in the face. I'm just like, keep doing it.
Mosquito, yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah. The mosquitoes are like this big. They're absolutely huge. You never saw such big mosquitoes in your life. I think Chloe went out once, and she decided her job was going to be to stay inside. She doesn't want bugs. Yeah, and then after the second year, she was like, I'm going to college, and I am done with that. So she didn't go with us too much. It's a hard thing, but it's fun. Afterwards, we tacked on a couple of days. This was in 2024, where we went to explore Anchorage, and we saw the beautiful tourist Alaska with the mountains and the animals and the river cruise and all of the beautiful stuff people save all their money to go to Alaska for. We both fell asleep. I mean, it's just one of the. It's beautiful. It's spectacular. Alaska's, gorgeous. But we would rather go to our dirty Hooper Bay without potholes and mud any day of the week. I mean, you never have bigger hugs anywhere ever, or bigger smiles. I mean, they're just for all the bad things. They're just such a joyous people, and they're very bright. Mark, I was telling you about, works with inmates. He's a heavier guy. They call him Fat Man. Say, hey, Fat Man! And they hug him, and they, and then they tell me, oh, Kelly, I like your fake hair. Oh, I like your fake nails. Those are so pretty. You have fake hair and fake nails. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, the next day they come in fake nails and big eyelashes.
Right. They come in, yeah. So I'm just like, ooh. And they call it, and it's just innocent. They don't mean anything by it. They're just completely innocent. It's just a different culture. But we got to see their native dance, their Yurok dancing, and in Chivak, there's one little boy who brought his own drum that he made himself. So he sprayed it with water, and he's playing his drum, and all of their songs tell stories of hunting and just different parts of their life. So that's really fun. And then we've got another boy, Julius, who can solve a Rubik's Cube in seconds flat, which is funny how he walks around with his Rubik's Cube. So, but I could keep you with stories all day. Is there anybody else who has any questions or anything for us?
Yeah, if somebody would want to support you, where would the best place to support you? Through you, contact you, or?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's always, if you want to do any support for the program and just as a whole, Alaska Mission for Christ. And there is another Alaska Missions, but you want to be sure you get the Alaska Mission for Christ, because that's the LCMS group that started it. And it was all from a doctor in Anchorage, I think, who was working with a native patient who didn't know Jesus. And so he thought, oh, there's this whole part of Alaska where people aren't, there's just a couple of Catholic churches out there, but then you get Catholic theology and all of that stuff happening in Yikes. And so LCMS just went up there and started doing that initial work, and it's been really wonderful.
We here at Zion have been doing mission festivals for as long as I can remember, and longer than Miss Helen. It's been going on forever. And having mission speakers come in has sometimes been quite a chore. They're busy, sometimes hard to get. And we feel very blessed to have Kelly and Holly and their family with us, because this is something that is real life. I mean, Pastor Flo's been out and has come in and missed it. So you hear other people talk about it, but until you've got somebody right here who's lived it, experienced it, it really means, hits you in the heart, and it brings it home. And I, for one, would just love to thank you guys for the congregation and for all of us. We definitely appreciate it, and we want to hear more.
Oh, easily. We could probably talk about Alaska all day. Yeah, maybe let's not. Yeah, we do love. But hey, and Holly wore her suspect, which is cool. Yeah. Well, the thing is, there is a lady, Helen, who is Bertha's mom, and Helen is now 80. She's 84 years old. She's so cute, and she brings her stick anywhere she goes, but she wants me to know that stick is not for walking. She doesn't need it. It's for the dogs. We didn't tell you about all the wolves and big dogs running everywhere. So Helen has her big stick for the dogs, but she always wants to know who wants to trade for cussbuck. So Holly's cussbuck is new. You have to be a native to be able to make it. She bought that in Anchorage. But mine came from Hooper Bay. Bertha gave it to me. And then Helen, her mom, gave me that. So if you look, these are ones that have been in their family. There's different stains and different tears. But they're really, it's quite the gift to be given a cussbuck. And I think it's funny that in some places they still consider rickrack to be so super stylish. Right? Because who's using rickrack, right? But they do. In Alaska, they've got rickrack on all their cussbucks.
So you now been ingrained into the Alaskan community? You are Alaskan now, as far as you have the clothing and stuff.
They do like to see us wear the earrings in the cut. Like, they will compliment our earrings. And so, yeah, I almost said earrings because, I'm going to jump on that. So, yeah. But it's fun. But feel free to check out the pictures, or just don't take anything